We're live today. It's the Rant Network on June 2nd. My partner David Solomon and myself, Stuart Brisgell, are going to have an interesting debate like we always do to censor big tech or not to censor big tech. Big tech has unilaterally censored politicians and other public figures. They claim there's a pattern, but when digging deeper, it appears to be only the ones they disagree with. Now, Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has passed a law, SB 7072, which stands for Senate bill, that will now prevent this from happening and allow you to go after them, which before was not possible because of Section 230. But where it gets a little bit more interesting is, by contrast, the Canadian government wants to censor what the public can post. And my partner, David Solomon, who's there wearing a nice fancy jacket, is going to take it away as I bring down our nice flashy music. Go ahead, David.
Good afternoon, everybody, and hope everyone is doing well on this. What we have here is a beautiful Wednesday. I got to tell you, folks, that, over the last number of months, and I guess we could talk about since the last 5 years, we've seen big tech. That's the social media platforms like Google, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest of those guys. What are they doing? They're letting you post. They're letting you put on whatever message that you want. They've claimed all along that they're censoring the bad stuff, right? Remember what they said about the bad stuff? Racism, hate speech, you name it, right? That's what they claim that they're doing. But as Stuart started with this whole thing, what we found was that they weren't censoring it consistently. There were numerous occasions when terrorist leaders were able to post ad nauseum. There are occasions where they said that murderers were able to post no problem, and they were watching them and they did nothing about it, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, it culminated in January of this year, when the big platforms decided that they were going to censor, for the first time ever, the most powerful person in the world by eliminating Donald J. Trump's Twitter feed. And it really came to a point where it was okay to censor Donald Trump, but the head of Hamas, who called for the death to Israel, destruction, death to all Jews, didn't merit the censorship. So what was going on is, in what Governor DeSantis, and applauded to Governor DeSantis, is that he comes out and says, whoa, you in big tech, we're going to reverse censor you. We're not going to let you censor based on your values, based on what you think is right, what you think is wrong. Thought process number one. Now here's thought process number two. The Liberal government in Canada has decided that they're going to get into the censorship game, not leave it to big tech. They're going to decide on your videos, your postings, your feelings, your attitudes, and they will decide whether or not it's legit. So, Stuart, one thing that really started to get me going was, is government in the right here? These are big technology companies. They're private. They claim to do whatever they do, but they're almighty powerful. Is Governor DeSantis right by removing some of their power? And or is the Liberal government in Canada right in censoring not only big tech, but you and me?
Well, that's a really good question. Does the government have the right to do this? And I think the answer is purely no, unless it falls under a federal guidelines that states that you can't, hate speech. The president of the free world isn't uttering hate speech. He's the president of the free world. The Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, we'd love to censor that guy a bit because he talks a little bit stupid. Sounds a lot like his father, and he looks really good in black shoe polish. However, censoring the people is wrong. I think, Governor DeSantis, is being pretty much spot on. Section 230, which is like a piece of legislation that actually protects these companies that you can't sue them as media agencies and all that stuff. And it's actually a massive 30, 40 pages of literature that was, came down, I think, in 1996, right? It's part of the Communication Act that was modified of 1934. And so, when you look at the scrutiny that they're giving Ron DeSantis, I think it's very, very wrong. Just past Memorial Day in the United States, similarly, November 11th in Canada, none of our countries were created by fluff and tweets. They were created by blood, sweat, and tears. And, the minute you give up your rights, the minute you lose your rights, and to get them back will require a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And they also want to play Big Brother. So after September 11th, David, all of this started to get looped together. And the United States took every single agency and every single media under the auspices of the Twin Towers. And so everything goes through this huge network of computers and is filtered. Keyword, code word, this and that. And we decided to go and let the government do that because the options that, the Twin Towers can happen again is a little bit scary for everyone. And you know what? They allow the Ayatollah Khomeini, they allow all of these guys, joker brokers, to have their opinions, but they want to censor people who oppose their thinking.
Well,
Doesn't Ayatollah Khomeini, he wishes death to just about everybody that isn't in their world. And a lot of Muslims won't speak out against him because they're terrified. But the Canadian government says it knows best. That's frightening. Where are you with that?
And I'm going to tell you, I'm listen. When I saw Bill C-10, which is the Liberal Party's platform,
Bill C-10, Bill.
Their claim, Stuart, is no, we're not going to censor you. We just want to make sure you say and post the right thing. Now, I'm sorry. Whose litmus test are we talking about here? Is it a government's responsibility to censor? And the answer is no. To me, it's not a government, because a government has an agenda and a policy. If you were to tell me the police was monitoring for hate, was monitoring for trends for another terrorist attack or murder or any of those, God forbid, actions, I'm all in favor of that. I am dead against any elected official who decides what's right and wrong for me. Because I've seen, whether you're on this side or the aisle or that side of the aisle, exactly what that refers to. What Governor DeSantis has done is undo not only what big government wants to do, but what big tech is trying to control. And what big tech is trying to control is what you and I see. And when I post on Facebook something, and I posted on Facebook something a while back, you did too. Yep. And Facebook slammed it and said,
Yep.
Nope. It doesn't conform. And yet, what happened in recent weeks, there were dozens, hundreds of postings: death to Jews, death to Asians, death to blacks. You see this all over. Yep. Not censored. So the truth is, what I appreciate from what Governor DeSantis is doing is not censoring, but is basically, taking away the hooks from big government and from big technology, from controlling what you and I see.
I just took a moment, and what's really interesting about this C-10, and I'm sorry, David, I didn't get a chance to read this before. Guys, we all have day jobs. I'm a financial advisor. David's a marketing guru and expert. And I got to tell you, this bill C-10 was introduced in the House of Commons last year when everyone was locked up by the Heritage Minister, this guy, Stephen Gerbeau. Now, if you don't know what a heritage minister is, if you've ever lived in the province of Quebec, they want to protect the French language and the French culture. And you know what? It's really, really frightening is that they're doing it under the auspices of let's hide it with flowers and potpourri. Let's try and sugarcoat it that we're trying to promote the Canadian ideal. That's what they're framing it as. when in fact it's far more heinous. I don't know why that the Canadian government hasn't, you know, gone a little harder at this whole bill. Like, how in the world
Because
do they
because
defeat
because
CRTC?
because because folks, let me just, and I'm going to divert a little bit from this conversation. There hasn't been a sitting government because we suspended government because of COVID. So the Liberal government is playing God and it's not democratic. And this is what they've done. And what they're realizing is during a COVID period, while you and I are all paying attention to vaccinations and other things, we're not going to pay attention to this bill. Although the opposition parties are aggressively attacking the Liberals by playing dirty politics. But let's go back to the validity of a government putting in censorship. And the answer is no government should be permitted to censor unless it falls under conformed practices like hate, like murder. You don't want them to touch that. And it shouldn't even be government. It should be a neutral party.
Well,
But
race, color, or creed. I mean, the U.S. has this really well defined. There's already a law that actually goes on, but again, these technology companies have hid behind Section 230, and they
correct.
only, as you wrote it very well, David. It's only out of their convenience do they identify, isolate, and cut out things that are contrary to what their narrative is. And you know
Correct.
what? It's no different than what's going on around the world. Let's eradicate history to rewrite it. You know, and that's all part of another conversation that we're going to hit on Monday. But I want you to understand, everybody listening around the world, this isn't just happening in the United States. This isn't only happening in Canada. I want you to think back to Cuba. I want you to think about Cuba Libre. You know, what about Cuba? I mean, that's the real first modern day communist hijacking. And it was done by the military. Well, you know what? In the United States, it's happening very softly and very eloquently by the government. And you know what? Every government is doing things differently. Canada still has its border closed, is thinking about opening it up in June. It's only going to announce it sometime later. But you know what? I don't understand why the people are not speaking up. These liberties,
because it's simple. It's simple, Stuart. It's simple. Our attention, and look at all the bills that get passed, whether it's in the US or Canada. Where's your attention? Your attention is now on COVID. Your attention is on your health, is on your job. It's on your economics. It's on that. You are not paying attention. Which is why whatever bill is being passed, you have to dig into the bill and see what else is hidden in there. Unfortunately, in this case, what the Liberals are doing is trying to control the messaging again. What Governor DeSantis is doing is to uncontrol the message. Don't allow government or big tech to control what you and I post as an opinion. Now, again, we're not saying let's go promote hate. I am not saying let's go put out hate speech, racism, but to tell me that socialist thought, conservative thought, liberal thought, communist thought should be banned, that's McCarthyism, folks. That's what McCarthyism was in the 1950s.
Right, but
that's what people were.
Jennifer brought up a good point. You know, the news agencies are culpable because they're the ones who are admitting these stories. Like, we're talking about this issue with SB 7072 and C10 in Canada. And again, I don't know the ones in the broader Europe, but I'm sure there's a half a dozen there. You know, I guess without podcasts like ours, this message wouldn't be out there. And you know what? It's really sad. It really is. And the only thing I can do, David, and I'm going to take the last word on you because you're going to recap what Friday is, and then we got Monday. You know, we've run our 14 and a half minutes. We're going to 15. I can just say that everyone's got to wake up. You know, we're not saying it's a revolution. The revolution's already happened. Our rights and liberties are being taken away every minute. Every news agency is taking away another one by not telling you the truth. Do not believe the editorial commentaries. Go read the bills. They're boring. Print them up. Read them while you're waiting for something to populate on your screen. Read them when you're private. They're mind-boggling. You know what? It's
Absolutely
like
wrong, man.
it's in every country, in every government, in every facet. David, what's going on Friday?
On Friday, it looks like I'm flying solo.
You are.
And I'm going to fly solo, and it's going to be a free flow Friday. Basically,
boy.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to take whatever you guys send me over the course of the next 48 hours, your opinions, your thoughts, your ideas, and I'm going to go rant about what you think is the topics that I should be speaking about. So Friday, noon Eastern, I will be there. Stuart won't, but he'll be back next Monday, next Wednesday, next Friday at noon Eastern. Join us on Facebook Live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check us out on YouTube now, the Rant Network page. Check us out on all places where you get your podcasts. And by the way, folks, share, and share the love. Don't be afraid. Share. Have yourself a wonderful day.